Today on Locked On Red Wings, Simon Edvinsson makes his NHL debut in Detroit's 5-1 loss to the Colorado Avalanche.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. I am a podcast producer for the Daily J, a WWJ News Radio podcast. Well, Scotty's the host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News. Happy Monday, Scotty. How you doing? How's your weekend, buddy?
It was all right. Traveled. I'm down in visiting some family and down south in Georgia. It's not too much warmer, which is kind of disappointing. But yeah, how about you?
Doing pretty good. I would have been a lot happier if the Red Wings had gotten a win for Simon Edvinsson's NHL debut, but here we are.
We weren't really close on that one, so
it was not really close, but we are happy nonetheless, right? I mean, Simon Edvinsson got called up to the Detroit Red Wings, and we talked about it on Friday, and we mentioned that with Sherratt being week to week, this is a move that we could see because would the Red Wings want to roll out 3 7th D-man until Sherratt's healthy, or do they want to call up, since they have a roster spot, someone to give them a look? And Simon Edvinsson, playing as well as he was down in Grand Rapids this season, clearly has shown growth on North American-sized ice. They decided to call him up and give him the opportunity. And as much as that loss sucked, losing to Colorado at home 5-1 stinks, it was really nice to see Simon Edvinsson make his NHL debut. And he played on a third pair with Robert Haig. But, he didn't come out and wow me, but he looked comfortable. He didn't look too out of place too often. A couple flubs here and there, but I liked what I saw from the most part from this former 6th overall pick.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't get to do a show after he got the call, right? That happened on a Friday, so we've had to wait until we've had to wait until now to even discuss the fact that it happened, and it's awesome. It's super exciting. Like you said, we talked about it a little bit on Friday and just discussed the fact that I think I had said something about call-ups would be cool, but I don't expect anyone to get more than 9, go over that 9-game threshold for, service manipulation stuff. And yet, within hours of me saying that, here he is. So very pleasantly surprised, I guess, is what I'll call it. But also, if there was anybody that was going to get the call up and they were going to break through that service time thing it was going to be him, just because if you followed him or watched him down in Grand Rapids, he is very clearly too good for that league at this point. He very clearly. And it's not, again, to your point, it's not like he was consistently finding his way on when Sider was down there, it seemed like he was on a highlight reel every night or something. And it hasn't quite been like that, but he just is very clearly a better than AHL level defenseman and just does everything correctly and is kind of just dominating in more of a sturdy way than a flashy way. And so it's really, really exciting that he got the call up in this game. To your point, I think that he looked fine. And dating back to the preseason, you can go and listen to our old episodes where we talked about, a lot of the concern, I guess would be the word, around watching Edvinsson in the preseason was, it almost looks like the moment's a little too big for him. He's making some not very smart mistakes, and it just felt like he kind of got swallowed up by it early on. Whereas in this game, it's one game. We'll see how he does from here on out. But in this one game against a really good team, the moment did not seem too big for him, and he looked pretty sound. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think referring back to the preseason is a good point, because in the preseason, when you say he made some not so smart plays, there are instances where it felt like he was trying to force plays, trying to make a big play, and he wasn't quite adjusted to the NHL level yet. So that's why they sent him, and I believe correctly, down to the AHL. And, watching him in this game, you can still see there's clear growth that still needs to be done. But he has definitively come a long way from the preseason. And that adjustment to the NHL ice is the biggest thing. He made some really key zone entry denials in the game against the Colorado Avalanche, which is huge. And again, he was playing on the third pair with Robert Haig, so he was playing against, maybe didn't have I don't want to like be disrespectful. He wasn't put on like the best pairing ever, but he was also put in the most sheltered minutes against the, hopefully most of the time, because sometimes these don't work out one for one every time, but the players on the Avalanche who are of, I don't want to say least concern, because the Avalanche team is very good, but it's not, hopefully he's not out there against Nathan McKinnon and Cal McCarr, right? But so he was out there. They put him in a situation where he could get his feet wet, and I thought he did very well. There were a couple moments where he had flubs here and there. You could chop that up to just like for NHL debut jitters. And I do think there is still growth left. Obviously, it was his first NHL game, but there's still obvious growth that needs to be done. But comparing that back to the preseason game, the way you put it, Scotty, it is night and day how far he has come in just 3/4 of a season down there in Grand Rapids. And, I just think that I do think that by the end of his 9 games played, I know you say if there's anyone who will go over that service time, will be Simon Edvinsson. I still think in the back of my mind, once he hits that 9-game mark, they'll probably make that decision. I mean, once they have it's pretty clear they're not going to make the playoffs, but in 9 games, they'll really know. So, like, if they're within striking distance, maybe they just breach that 9 games, but more likely than not, they won't. And at that point, I could totally foresee them just be like, go back to Grand Rapids, finish your season there, continue to grow. We'll let you start the first year on your ELC next year because they don't want to, like you said, burn that first year of entry-level contract and service time.
Yeah, I can. That's very much shown in the back of my head as well. And I mean, I don't know. It would be kind of fun if we got like,
oh yeah, I'm rooting for that
mini revolving door of like, he hits 9 games, he goes down, and then like Johansson comes up. You know what I mean? Like we just have like a little kind of circus, and well, not a circus. What's the word I'm thinking of? Whatever. Anyway, just kind of like the revolving door of I don't know, prospects or youth that could come through and kind of fill that role would kind of be a fun way to end the season. So I'm not necessarily against that, but I do want to see as much Simon Edvinsson as possible for whatever it's worth. So, but yeah, like I said, the moment didn't look too big for him. He looked pretty sound. He made a couple of really nice plays, and he definitely looked a lot more. I think you said comfortable earlier, and I think that's definitely the word. He looked far more comfortable in this one than he really ever did in the preseason.
Yeah, I would love to see Albert Johansson up here too. But as a commenter pointed out to me, he apparently has been out with an injury since March 4th. I don't know the severity of the injury, so hopefully he can get healthy because I'd still love to see him get a look as well because he's been very good, albeit playing through things this season. So I'd love to see both those guys at some point this season because when we talked about on Friday, reasons to watch. I mean, growth of young guys was one of those, and the call-ups. I put it as the September call-ups, so to speak, in baseball terms,
right,
for the Detroit Red Wings as the season winds down, and we're seeing it. I mean, Simon Edvinsson is the first one, and of course, this happened mainly because Chirac got injured, but because of the roster space, they could have done it regardless. I'm digging it. I like it a lot, and I think his first game, while he didn't like blow me away, he didn't look out of place either, and that's an important first step for any rookie. Because not everyone, even though you're first round pick 6th overall, especially when you're marketed as like a defensive defenseman, you're not going to come into the league game 1 and score a hat trick. You're not Austin Matthews. That's just you got to temper your expectations no matter where players are drafted in their first NHL game.
Yeah, and the biggest thing for me is just give us a building block, right? Give us something that we can look. What is
there's like a hair hanging from there we go. A hair hanging from my bill.
We all know it's not a hair, dude. Okay?
It's the cat's hair. It was on my bill and it was in my periphery and it was bothering the hell out of me and I couldn't get it, so I had to take my hat off. All right, continue.
We're hair, good now. Dude, for sure.
It was the cat's hair.
Just give us a building block, though. That's the thing. Like, just give us something that a performance we can look at and go, okay, in next game, I want to see like this and this adjustment, but that was a really solid first game. And I think that's what he gave us.
Absolutely. So, Scotty, when we come back, we'll continue the conversation, actually kind of delve into the 5-1 loss. And then in segment 3, we'll do a game preview against the Florida Panthers. And of course, it's not on Bally Sports because God forbid we ever play the Panthers. When was the last time
we played the Panthers and it wasn't nationally televised to some extent?
It's think ridiculous. We got one this season.
It is literally ridiculous. The last like 3 years, every single Panthers game is ESPN Plus, TNT, or NHL Network, dude. It's preposterous.
So yeah, look forward to that coming on Locked On Red Wings. But first,
I got all of them.
I got to talk to you guys today about Athletic Greens. This next partner is a product you got to use literally every day. Start taking AG1 because with one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all those things. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free. It contains less than 1 gram of sugar and no GMOs and no nasty chemicals or artificial anything. Athletic Greens was created when the founder experienced a ton of gut health issues and ended up on a complicated routine to recover, and it cost him $100 a day. So he created Athletic Greens, and it's going to cost you less than $3 a day, and you're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance that has over 7,000 5-star reviews and recommended by tons of professional athletes. Tarek Skubal being one of them. We talked about that a lot to start our last Tiger season. So right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop and a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty and I are talking about the 5-1 loss to the Colorado Avalanche. And, you know, Scotty, we were talking a lot in segment 1 about Simon Edvinsson. And part of that is also because when breaking down this game, it's hard to want to talk about anyone else.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it was clearly the scoreboard is not great, but I think the frustrating part of this game is just how it fell apart. Like the first period was pretty competitive, and the Wings, I thought, came out of the gate and looked pretty darn good, but that third period was brutal, and like the end of the game, just it almost looked like people just like stopped skating. Like it was a really rough end to a game. And yeah, I mean, you really did. I mean, you kind of, like, dare I say, outplayed Colorado in the first, but it all came crashing down in a very big way.
Yeah, I mean, I think they came out of the gate and performed well. Obviously, after the first period, it was tied to 1-1. That first goal Devon Toews scored, that was all Colorado. I mean,
Yeah.
the way they cycled the puck and the Red Wings could do nothing but watch and chase. Everybody was puck watching. Everybody was following the puck carrier, and they were just cycling the puck around because no Red Wing player was trying to anticipate the Colorado Avalanche's next move. They were just caught watching what they were currently doing. And it bit him in the ass when Devon Toews scored from, near the point almost. And so that goal was pretty embarrassing, but they got it right back. Pius Suter with a feed from Dylan Larkin. It was a nice shot by Pius Suter as he kind of continues, again, on the top line as a winger with Dylan Larkin, continues to get that shot. His stock is rising.
The re-sign Suter campaign is in full effect, man.
He's making a push for it. I mean, on a team that is struggling, he has been one of the few consistent players for the Detroit Red Wings. So Pius Suter has continued to look good. Again, Dylan Larkin gets an assist, so that's another point towards again, one of our other reasons to watch, see if Dylan Larkin can break his career high in points. That assist keeps him on that trend. But, you know, after that goal and it was tied up 1-1, it all came crashing down. Because what's funny is, and I was telling you this before the game, so the Red Wings had a Corsi for percentage of 67% and expected goals for percentage of 71%, well, basically 72% in the first period at 5-on-5. And that Corsi for and expected goals for percentage carried them to the end of the game. Because at the end of the game, they still technically had because they outshot the Colorado Avalanche at the end by a pretty wide margin, I believe, at the end of the game. I actually have that up, 34-23, 11 more shots than the Avalanche. But the shot attempts, they only outshot attempted them in the first period, but that carried them to the end of the game. The final was 52% and 50% for the Red Wings at Corsi for and expected goals for, despite the fact that the Avalanche had the edge large in the second and third period. That's just how well they came out of the gate in the first period. And I could pull it up here. I'll show you guys visually so you know what I'm talking about. You can see it on the graph because this is the Corsi for percentage at 5-on-5. But you see how the Red Wings really took punched Colorado in the mouth with shot attempts, only shot attempts in the first period. And that carried them to the end of the game because you can see the rest of the game, that bar graph slowly moved down. But that's just how good of a first period the Red Wings had. And then they just decided not to play the second and the third. And that's what it looked like when watching the game too.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't agree more. There was a couple. I mean, the shorthander was absolutely devastating. That I'm pretty sure somebody. I wish I could give credit. I don't remember who found the stat initially, but I think it was making the rounds on Wings Twitter after that the Red Wings have the most shorthanders given up this season in the NHL. So, if that's true, that's super cool.
Yeah, super cool. You love to see that.
Yeah,
they're pretty bad on their own power play at defending, which is kind of crazy considering they have an extra.
It's not new either.
Not
like
new.
This season, new. I mean, that's been a thing for the last couple of years.
I mean, every single goal, you could go down the list. I mean, just to refresh myself before recording, I rewatched every single goal, and it was the same problem. The team, and obviously the shorthanders, there's no excuse. You were down 4-on-3 for a power play goal. Power play goals happen, whatever. But every single one is just puck watching. It's just puck watching and not moving your feet, which I believe you said. So it's just after the first period, it just felt like the team's feet wasn't moving, and you can split the team right down the freaking middle too in terms of Corsi for percentage and expected goals for percentage. I mean, half the team is well above 50%, and then there's like a break point where everyone is well below 40%. So the last person who is above expected goals for percentage of above 50% is David Perron at 54%, almost 55%. It's 54.92. After that is Simon Edvinsson, and he's at 38.66. And it's down from there, and it's split right in the middle. So literally
There's no one in the 40s.
Yes. Literally half of your team outshot the Colorado Avalanche, and the other half of your team just didn't show up to play. And again, like I'm not crapping on Edvinsson because again, it was his debut. That was just rough to see. Let me zoom in so you guys can see it. But like, too far. Here you go. You can see it right here where it's Zarnik with limited ice time was like 78%. Kubalik was good. Berggren was really good in this game. I do want to give credit to him.
Yeah.
But again, Robert Haig, put respect on his name.
Respect Robert Haig.
Andrew Kopp, Oli Mata, Philip Zadina, Osterley, Perron, all well above 50%. And then after that, it's just a steep drop off. So like half of your team showed up to play, and then the other half just didn't. And it's just a tale of two teams. And I would argue that this is depth versus depth. But actually, and if you look at this, it was your top performers, your top liners in this game who were at the bottom of the list. And what that tells me is that our top performers can't measure up against the Colorado Avalanche's top performers, which, let's be honest, we already knew. Because your depth players are the ones who played the best in terms of shot attempts and when they were on the ice, what they were doing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like it's a healthy mix of both. I mean, like Kubalik and Kopp were toward the top of the list, but then like Raymond was toward the bottom of the list.
Raymond, Larkin, and Suter are all near the bottom. Seider and Wallman are at the bottom. Yeah, those are the biggest offenders, I would say, for sure, which is funny because Larkin and Suter were the only two that got on the point sheet. But that just tells me how badly that line got outplayed versus like the top line of the Colorado Avalanche.
For sure, yeah. I mean, we're not gonna, in our present state, going to outmatch the Avs in terms of like top six talent or whatever. But I do want to give credit to Andrew Kopp because I feel like he got off to a slow start this year, and everybody was kind of ragging on him early on. And I feel like really the last like 2 or 3 weeks as a whole, we've pretty much said like, oh, Andrew Kopp had a really good game today, like after almost every game for the last month-ish. So just wanted to point that out because I really liked the signing when it happened, and I still do. And I'm, a lot more optimistic about the next 3 years than I think a lot of people were back in like December.
You and I are of the same mindset where when it comes to Andrew Kopp, it's going to be year 2 where we really figure out what the value of this contract is going to be, because year 1's kind of a wash given the surgery he went through. Core surgery takes forever to recover from. It's not going to happen overnight. So, he's finally becoming the Andrew Kopp we signed. but a lot of people are going to still have that sour taste in their mouth from the first half. So we've decided we're going to put off judgment with him until year 2, give him time to actually fully get his strength back, because your core is your everything. It is literally everything in hockey, in sports in general. If you
just have in life, dude, you don't realize how vital, I guess I would say, your core is, or like your back too, like that area. You don't realize how often you use those muscles until you hurt them, man. That's really is brutal.
It turns out that your core, which means, your center, like the literal middle of your body.
Turns out you use that a lot.
And like literally everything you do. So it turns out when that has surgery and you're recovering those muscles, it can affect how you play. So go figure. Anyway, Scotty, let's see. We should probably talk about the Husso thing, but let's do that when we come back. And then whatever left you have to talk about from this 5-1 loss, we can.
Sure. Sounds fun.
Don't really know if I want to. Anyways, let's talk about Built Bar, Scotty. If you're looking for a delicious treat but don't want all the fat and calories, then you got to try Built Bar. What makes Built Bar so good? Well, for starters, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And they come in some unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And what's even better is they are healthy. Only 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar with a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't need to wait around to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering your Built Bars at Built.com. Now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart, walk to the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You get a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. It's yours. If you're close to a Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar box with hit flavors, brownie batter, and churro. You can thank us later. And as always, you can always go to Built.com. It's tried and true, guys. It works every time. So make sure you go to Built.com, Walmart, or Sam's Club. You won't regret it. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. I really was hoping you wouldn't bring it up.
Have you tried churro yet?
So anyway, Scotty, Ville Husso. Ville Husso, what'd you make of his performance in this one as he ultimately got pulled in the third period for Magnus Hellberg?
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty deserved pull, to be honest with you. We've sang the praises of Husso obviously a lot this season, and for the first third of the year, probably he was comfortably the most valuable Red Wing on the team. I mean, maybe you can argue still to this day, honestly, he's arguably one of the more valuable wings on the team this season. And this was just not a very good performance. In the first period, like a lot of it's kind of the same song and dance as what we said about the rest of the team. But I didn't think he looked that bad in the first. And then as the game went along, just not a very good performance. I didn't disagree with the poll. Not that it would have changed the outcome really, no matter what they did. But I'm not against it.
And sometimes and we talked about this early in the season when I ranted that when in a game where they didn't pull Husso and they didn't pull Hellberg, and a lot of people pushed back and said, well, there's, down by 4 with 15 minutes left in the game. What's the point of pulling your goalie? Well, for me, it's less of a punishment, more of a life preserver. Like, I'm going to get you out of this, because while he didn't have a good game by any stretch of the imagination, I mean, any game where you give up 5 goals is not a good game. It's not 100% his fault. And I know you weren't implying that, but that's just the reality. The Devon Toews goal was a shot from the point. Could he have made the save? Yes. But his entire team was caught puck watching. So they were cycling the puck. Just everyone was standing still. The Nathan MacKinnon goal. I mean, Nathan MacKinnon on a breakaway with a rocket of a shot. He could he have made a save on it? Sure. But Nathan MacKinnon, and might come off as me making excuses, but it's just so tough when you're playing a team like the Colorado Avalanche, where I'm saying, yes, Ville Husso could have done better, but he was also not helped out by his team at all. Bowen Byram, 4-on-3 power play goal. The Lars Eller shorthanded goal. Mikko Rantanen goal. There were so many times. The Mikko Rantanen goal is a cross crease goal on a 2-on-1. I mean, it's just, what do you want your goaltender to do when you don't give him any support out front? And so, yes, he is at fault partially, but it's also a huge part of this blame goes on the team in front of him. And we had this conversation so much last year with Nedeljkovic and Thomas Greiss, where it's like, yeah, they could have done better. But how many times in a year are we going to rely on our goalies to bail us out of a hockey game when the Red Wings don't do anything to support them out front? I mean, how many games has Ville Husso won because he was so damn good? How many, like the 3-0? I always go back to the 3-0 shutout win over the Predators where the Red Wings got heavily outplayed. For once, it would just be nice if the Red Wings could bail their goalie out. A goalie having a bad game and the Red Wings perform above that to win it. That would just be so nice. It's getting really old where, like, again, yes, Husso had a bad game, but it's getting really old where we have to rely on our goalies to put the team on their back. That's why I don't ever want to blame solely the goaltending for a loss, when the goaltending for 3/4 of the Red Wings wins are the sole reason they won the hockey game. If you look at most of the Red Wings wins, they get outplayed in almost every single game at 5-on-5. It's because of, albeit special teams, power play was doing very good for several of those wins. Along that win streak, it was incredible, but also superb goaltending. And it would just be nice for once if the team could repay the favor, and they just didn't in this game. And so along through Husso life reserve, he said, I'm going to get you out of this game. And that's the end. So while, yes, to finish it off, go back to my original point, Husso definitely shares some of the blame, but I will withhold full blame on him when the team in front of him gave him no help.
I agree. We're staying on brand. Goalie defenders through and through, baby.
Yeah. Every single time. When you grow up as a defenseman, it's hard to ever blame your goalies because you get really close to your goaltenders back there.
Fair enough.
So, all right, Scotty, do you have any final thoughts on the game?
No, I'm ready to move on to. Let me know stop me if you've heard this before. A nationally televised game against the Florida Panthers.
Does it count as nationally televised if it's on NHL Network and you have to have like the best cable package to have it?
You're right.
I mean, it is, if you have NHL Network, it is across the nation, but NHL Network's like, you have to have the most expensive cable package to be able to watch it.
Yeah.
Like, why?
Why? We took care about growing the game, dude.
Also, like, why these two teams? Like, yes, the Florida Panthers are a playoff team. Like, they're in that hunt for the wild card.
Growing the game, dude.
But like, why they're just the Florida Panthers are a very good hockey team. They struggled early in the season, but they have since recovered. Huge shakeup to their roster, but they have been performing regardless. Matthew Tkachuk still 92 points in 66 games played. Carter Verhaeghe, 61 points in 68 games played. You got Alexander Barkov, of course. He's got only 55 games played, but he's got 60 points. They're still a really punchy in the mouth team in terms of scoring, but they got good defense and, average goaltending, but their shot suppression is so good. They're, I think, second in the league in shot suppression.
Yeah.
In terms of their Corsi against. Let me just sort this, and I have it sorted right this time. They're third in the league for shot attempts against with 2,906 shot attempts against. That's the third best in the league. And their Corsi 4, their shot attempts 4 is fourth in the league. So they shoot a lot and they stop a lot of shots. And that's why they have the third best Corsi 4 percentage in the league. And they're right in the wild card hunt with, I think, even though I think they're sitting right outside the wild card right now. Yeah, they're the third in the wild card race in the Eastern Conference. I think they have the best chance based on strength of schedule to make the playoffs. Yeah. I honestly do expect them to make the playoffs. I think it's tough because Islanders and Pittsburgh are right there, but I think the Panthers team's too good to miss. We'll see how that pans out, but they're still a really good hockey team.
Yeah, it's a darn good team. We've talked about them a lot, dating back to the preseason even. That was something. This is a team that we've obviously interdivision. This is a team that we've talked about quite a bit. And yeah, I fully expect them to make the postseason as well. This is a huge game for them. So if you want to play a little bit of spoilers and maybe steal a victory and not let them get a couple of points, that would be awesome. But yeah, this is a very, very important game to the Panthers. And yeah, you have an opportunity there to go ruin some fun. So,
and the one thing about the Florida Panthers that is kind of keeping them out of the playoff mix, though, the one weakness you want to exploit is their penalty kill. Scott, I'm going to give you one guess if you don't already know where their penalty kill is ranked. And like when I say one guess, between 1 and 10, 10 and 20, and 20 and 32.
Oh, I mean, okay. The bottom one.
20, yeah, you were right. They are ranked 27th in the league in penalty kill.
Wow.
Only 74% success rate. So Red Wings, for comparison, are at 19th in the league. So if you want to exploit one aspect of the Florida Panthers, it's going to be their penalty kill. Get them frustrated, make them take bad penalties, and score a lot of goals because you want to play spoiler. That's one of the best reasons to still watch this hockey team right now, is because you could ruin some hopes for many teams. But again, this team shoots the puck so much and they possess the puck so well. I mean, that's part of the reason also why they don't see a lot of shot attempts against, is because your opponents can't shoot the puck against you if you don't give them the puck. In a lot of instances, that's why, Carolina Hurricanes are one of the few teams that, are really good at suppressing shot attempts because of the fact that they just play really good defense. A lot of your top end teams suppress shot attempts because they just don't give up the puck. And the Florida Panthers are one of those. Calgary Flames are one of those. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to win, get them on the penalty kill.
My key to the game is score more than the Panthers.
Beautiful. Great stuff from this writer over here. Remember, guys, he is a writer from the Detroit News. There it is. Haven't used that in a while.
There it is. Haven't used that in a bit, yeah.
No. I also have this one.
That's ridiculous. I don't remember that one.
I did that. You were like, you weren't doing a monologue one time for like 3 solid minutes. And I was just like, I typed that and I put it up, and then you never noticed it. So it was just on one of our episodes way back when.
That's super funny. Yeah, I've never noticed that before until right now. So,
all right, Scotty, any final thoughts, man?
We ball.
All right. We'll be back tomorrow with a game recap. So stay tuned. Same time, same place. Your team every day.
Every day.